Welcome to your D131, to your Halloween flyer exercise. This is a quick little Halloween themed flyer, similar to what we did in computer graphics. So if you're in computer graphics, this will be very similar. But we're just going to focus on the design work in here to the flyer, just to work on something fun before Halloween, and to focus on some graphics a little bit more than we have been, considering we had vaccination flyers and things like that. So what you're going to do is go to coursework, and you're going to go to Unit 8, and you're going to go to Halloween Flyer Layout, and there'll be a shared link for you, so you can just click on that. And that'll open up in Figma. It'll be view only, so if you go here and duplicate to your drafts, that'll go into your account, and then you can open it. That's assuming you're logged in. If you need to log in, make sure you log in. And then go up here, double click on the name, and put your last name first initial. And remove copy, and that's all you have to do. And just to show you what's going on in here, there's a background here with a gradient, a border, a couple hills, and a little path. That's all here under background graphics. So all this stuff is here. And actually, one thing I just noticed, I could fix this, but if you need to fix this, make sure this stuff is all in here. WCCCs and the haunted woods behind there, all that stuff should be here, because we're kind of doing a what, when, where kind of thing. And all that stuff should be here under letter. So if I go back to fix that, I'll fix that for you. But if you happen to see it like that, make sure everything's in this letter frame. And this stuff is all locked, so there's nothing much to do here right now. All these things should be locked in here. You shouldn't have to do anything with them unless you need to get in there and put something in between. If you want to put something in between one of these hills, trees, or anything like that, you could get in there. But it's just grouped. So this is just a group here called background graphics. So I'll close that up. But all your text here is kind of in order. There's also a vector bat. So this is vector, meaning you could scale it and change colors, do anything you want to. So I'll show you a couple vector things, but first of all, you're really going to just have text here that you're going to put on here. I'd keep it as clean as possible, except for Haunted Trail. You could make that be nice and big and decorative. You could look up some display fonts in Google Fonts. You know, if there was ever a time to use Creepster, possibly now would be the time to use Creepster. Some of these as well, I don't want to go and lay out the whole flyer for you, but a couple things just to point out. When you put stuff on here, you probably want to keep this stuff nice and clean because we have a busy background. And if you change the font, keep it something clean, sans serif, or maybe a nice serif if you did. I did it in a sans serif, but you could do like source serif. I'll go in here and put in source serif pro, and that's a nice serif font. You could make it a little bit heavier. It's regular. There's a semi-bold. And again, I usually say don't put everything in bold, but if we want it to stand off in the background and it's a serif font, you probably want to go a little bit bigger. Remember to scale up type. You can go over here to the point size. Maybe you want to make everything 24, something like that. If you want to make it stand out, you could do two things. One is you could fill it with white. I could go here and give a fill of white. And obviously that's hard to see, but then I could give it a stroke of black. So I could go here and give it a stroke of black. And you could go nice and thick. And one thing you could do is make sure it's on the outside. They have settings here of inside, outside, and center. You definitely want to have it on the outside. So if I close this and go into here, you can see what that looks like right now. So having a bold font like that is nice. Now, I don't know if I need it that thick. Maybe something like 2 is good. I might want to go even a little bit bigger on this than 24. I might want to go up to maybe 28. Let's see what comes next. Maybe even 32. I'll zoom out and see how that looks. That probably wouldn't look too bad. We only have a couple things. We have the place, we have the date, and we have free admission. And then we'll put some graphics on there and Haunted Trail. So I'll throw Haunted Trail in there. Maybe you want to go find some nice display font. You'll go to Google Fonts. And I'll close this up. You can go here and search display, and there's lots of cool fonts. There might be a lot of things that kind of, might be unique for Halloween, and they don't always have to be like rough and, scary looking. Even just something like this would stand out real nice. Titan 1 would look pretty cool. Bangers would look cool. Luckiest Guy would look cool. So you don't just have to go right to Creepsters or anything like that. There's a lot of nice looking fonts here. Creepster would be good, but that's a little more cliche. So maybe I'll try Luckiest Guy. And I'll put Haunted Trail and Luckiest Guy. And first of all, I'll make it bigger. And remember, you could scale it by going to the arrow and going to the scale tool and just kind of dragging up on it. You don't even have to hold shift. I'll make it nice and big. And I'll change it from being enter to being Luckiest Guy, and that looks pretty cool. And you could do the same thing. You could either surround it with a white stroke, or you could make it white with a black stroke, whatever you want. You could put a white stroke and then a drop shadow. And just one other thing I want to show you here, if you wanted to make it like taller and more condensed, you can't really do it here. They don't really let you squash it. It just scales up in proportion, which is what you should do for a font. But if you right click on this and use flatten, I think flatten will make it into a graphic. Then you could go over here and you should be able to stretch it in a different way here. Actually, let me go back to the arrow. I think the scale only does in proportion, but if I go here and go on the side, then I can kind of squash it, and then I can make it bigger. So I can make it something like that, which might look nice. And like I said, you could put a white stroke on here. So I'll go here and add a white stroke and make it bigger, make sure it's on the outside, something like that. If you put a drop shadow on there, which you could do from down here, let me close this up. I'll go down to effects. I'll try drop shadow. I'll click on the settings and I'll do like a 4 for X, 4 for Y, maybe even more. Maybe I'll even do like an 8, tab 8, and I'll increase the blur, something like that. And it's at 25% of opacity, so I'll make it a little bit darker and something like that. That stands out real nice. Now, we don't have a lot of options as far as bending it or doing it, anything like that. Now, I don't know if you have to, but I do want to point something out, and I showed this to computer graphics class, that you could go in here to File, Plugins, and I have a couple in here. I have one called Warp It. If you just find more plugins and go find Warp It, you could run Warp It. And also, I want you to go find Image Tracer and run Image Tracer. Now, I have them running right now, but if I go to Warp It, what I could do, not that this is really great, but I could select this shape and go to Warp It. And again, where that is under Plugins, Warp It. And then I can go to Settings here. I can add some more points on it. I could put them all the way up here. And close up the settings. And then I could, kind of do something like this. If I want a little kind of flag shape a little bit. I don't know how this is going to work with the stroke. It looks a little weird right now. It's not the greatest plugin, but it's kind of neat. So I'll kind of do that. And I'll put apply results, see how it comes out. And I'll close that up. And that looks awful. So obviously I don't want to do it with in that mode. I guess I just want to do it for text because it doesn't look good on the graphic like that unless I group it or something. I'm not sure what's going on. So skip that for now unless you still do it as text. It'll work out better, but as these individual shapes right now, it's not working out. So skip that. You could do it to other things, but I wasn't really worried about the Warp It that much. One thing I do want to show you, other than doing that and getting some other text in here and doing this stuff in here, some of the options when you work in here is just doing something as simple as drawing a circle. And there's a circle, and I'll make it white, and I'll make it like a moon. And I think that's white. And then if I copy it, I could hold Option and drag this and copy it. And kind of put one in front of the other, and then if I select this one, and I hold Shift, and I select this one, so that they're both selected, I could go up here, and I could do something called Subtract Selection, and then I could even flatten it, which will make it permanent, and I could go over here and call it Moon. And now I have a little moon to work with, and that would be something cool to put a little bat in front of, or I could put this over here. Now, if you need something in front of something, make sure you put the moon behind Haunted Trail. If you wanted the moon behind there, if you wanted a bat over here going through the moon, you could do something like that. Is the bat in front of the moon? Yeah, the bat's in front of the moon. You could rotate it, go in the corner here, do something like that. It's kind of neat, and you could throw some little bats around. And also some other graphics you might want to put in here. Actually, seeing this, I probably wouldn't use this in Source Serif Pro. I'd probably make it like a Roboto or something. I'd still do it a little bolder. I wouldn't do it really light, but whether I did it black with white stroke or white with black stroke, I would change that. So that's what you could do there. But the other thing I wanted to point out is that if you wanted more graphics, if you wanted a creepy tree or anything like that, you could basically go and look for a creepy tree. And I always mention to put creepy tree silhouette, so that you're finding silhouette, and I'm going to go to images, and here's creepy trees. Now try to keep them not too detailed. Don't go crazy with ones like that. That may be a little bit of an issue. I'm not sure how this would be. I'll try to find something a little more on the simple side, but here's a creepy tree. That looks creepy. And I'm going to right click and copy it. And then I'll just go into here and I'll paste it off to the side. I'll just kind of paste it. And now I did this on my other one too. If you have something selected, undo it, because you have to paste it without anything selected. Otherwise, it'll paste into the moon. So click off, and now do a paste again, Command V or Control V. And what we're going to do is we're going to trace this. Now, we're going to have to use that plugin, Image Tracer, and this works actually pretty well. I'm going to go to Plugins, Image Tracer. And there it is. And then you just select Place Traced Vector, and you could kind of move it away and then delete the one you pasted in there, and now you have a cool looking tree. You could scale that down. You could put it as part of your artwork inside of there, make it nice and small, whatever you need to do. You could even crop it. If you wanted to crop your tree, you could draw a box on the side of it, something like that. And then if you select the box, just like we did with the moon, you could select the box, hold shift, select your tree, and then go over here and do something called subtract again, the same one. And now we have a cropped tree. And it's not even permanent. You could go in here and change the rectangle. So if you needed to move your tree over, or whatever you do, you could move the box around. You could adjust that a little bit. So you do have some options there before making it permanent. So there's the creepy tree. You could throw zombies and corn stalks and all kinds of things in there. Cats and witches flying. Sometimes it might look cool with like a silhouette of a witch flying in here. We've done that in the past. If you go find a witch silhouette, something like that. There's a witch silhouette. You could go and just do something like this. I'll copy image. I'll come back here. Now that has some text in it, so I'm not sure what's going to happen. Make sure nothing's selected. Click on nothing and then paste it. And I'll go into plugins, image tracer, and I think I don't know if I could remove some of this stuff. We could remove it later, but I'll put place traced vector. And if I don't want any of that stuff, I'll delete this. If I don't want any of this, I should be able to go into the edit mode and then just highlight all this stuff down here and just do a shift delete. Shift delete, not delete, because if I just do delete, well, that worked. Sometimes you gotta do shift delete, but that works too. So anyway, now I have my vector here. I could hit done because I'm not editing any of this anymore. And now I have the vector witch, and that may be something that looks cool in front of a moon. So I'll bring this up here and make it smaller. And that may look cool in front of a moon. It may look cool in front of a circular moon. If you wanted to do that too, you don't have to do the crescent moon. You could do a, big circular moon, but that might look better, make it kind of orangey or whatever. But you could put bats up here, you could put trees, you could put zombies, you could put ghosts, you could put anything you want. Again, the idea is to promote the haunted trail when it is and where it is, and just make it something nice and have some fun with it a little bit in Figma, because you do have some fun things you can do in Figma. Although the warp it on that thing was not fun. It works better on text, but I'll explore that a little bit more. There's probably something I could do to make it work a little bit better. It probably had an issue with the way I had it flattened it. I don't know if I outlined stroke properly, but I'll try something else out and let you know. But for now, you could work on that, and that will be your ex12, just to give you something fun to do for Halloween before we jump into more boring kind of stuff that we work on. But a chance to work on some graphics and to be a little more creative as far as what you're doing. Now, if you wanted to go into anything, remember you could go back here and unlock anything in your background graphics. If you wanted to put something in between here, you could always drag something down in between the front hill and the back hill, even a tree. Even if you wanted to take another tree and copy it and put it in here, whatever you have to do. So whatever you need to do in here, you could do that. So let you have some fun with that. So anyway, that's ex12. Apologize for not being in class, but hopefully this is something fun to do on your own as you work over the weekend or whatever, and enjoy your Halloween weekend. So I'll see you guys next week, and let me know if you have any questions. Email me if you have any questions with this or have any problems. When you're done, remember, all you're going to do is you're going to share it. You're going to copy the link. You're going to go back to coursework, go into here, and you'll add a comment just like the other ones, and you'll add a link. You'll paste your link here. You'll open it in a new window, and you'll hit save. So you guys know how to do that. You've done that a couple times. So just want to point that out. So That's your ex12, your Halloween flyer layout. Have some fun with that, and remember your design principles. Don't forget about all your design principles just because you're using graphics and things like that. Make sure this is the emphasis area that really stands out. Make sure everything is readable, that you don't get caught up in colors and things like that. Everything's readable. When it is. Even here, this tree is, for me, it's probably too big. It needs to be a smaller tree here. So it's not covering up any graphics or anything like that. So don't get caught up with graphics too much. Have a little fun with it, but make sure that we only have a couple things here that everything stands out and is really readable in front of this if you had to print this out.